While high commodity prices are leading to higher costs for animal feed, it's taking a toll on livestock producers who are already coping with inflation hurdles. As we now turn our attention to the dairy sector for an update, we check in with Alan Bjerga. He's with the National Milk Producers Federation. And Alan, as always, thanks for your time here this morning. So how are these higher prices for animal feed affecting our dairy producers?
Well, it's taking a big bite out of what is otherwise potentially a record year for prices and revenues. You take a look at the overall export demand for U.S. dairy products. You take a look at some of the continued support you have domestically in the consumer retail sector. Restaurant sales being back now as the pandemic and this lockdowns have eased in the United States. It's a pretty good picture for the price side for dairy. But at the same time, when you have these expenses going up, that starts eating into your margins, and that's creating a lot of uncertainty in dairy country right now. As long as this inflation keeps rising, and as long as you see costs not just for animal feed, but other parts of running a business you have to still be a little bit nervous, even though your overall price situation and your overall margins are pretty good by historical standards.
Talk about inflation and how it's affecting dairy operations from their day-to-day business to look into the future.
Well, this is an important thing to remember about how dairy is calculated in terms of federal assistance programs, disaster programs, ways to help farmers through some of the volatile times. The Dairy Margin Coverage Program is based on your price and basically a feed cost. Well, feed costs are up, but that's not the only cost. There are labor costs, there are fuel and input costs, and they are all up across the board. So when you take a look at dairy margins, you realize that feed is your proxy, but feed is not the entire story. And this full picture does create some issues in an inflationary environment like this one, even as you see that robust export and consumer demand.
Now, usually when prices are higher, farmers tend to produce more milk. Is that what's happening right now?
Well, it's the classic agricultural response, right? The cure for high prices is high prices. You start producing more because you see another dollar, a hundredweight coming at you. And eventually enough people do that the cycle continues because supplies are going down. You haven't seen that so much this time for several reasons. You're seeing because, again, of those high feed prices, it's actually constraining abilities for herds to expand, especially on some of your larger operations. You're also seeing the overall effects of still trying to repair balance sheets from the pandemic and such. That's also another constraint on herd expansion. The good news about that is that if the milk supply doesn't rise that quickly, and the forecasts are that it's really not supposed to, that means that some of these high prices can continue a little while. And that's just more repair for balance sheets. That's another way to make sure that you can deal with these inflationary pressures that everyone's facing right now.
All right. Well, Alan, as always, thank you very much for your insight today. Alan Bjerga with the National Milk Producers Federation connecting with us out of Washington. You can go online to nmpf.org for more information. Thanks again, Alan.